everybody. Welcome to our webinar, pop-up webinar series. We're very happy to have you join us this afternoon for an exciting webinar presentation. This is 0 to 60 enrollments in 4 to 5 months. And this is featuring Warren Augustin. He's an industry strategist, and he's the founder of the Early Childhood Champion Consulting. And we ran across Warren in several paths over social media and really sort of enjoyed his fresh perspective on a number of things. With what Warren and myself will talk about today will be a number of things that really ground us on how we communicate and what it takes to really engage with prospective families. And I'm not going to steal any more of his thunder because we'll do that in just a few moments. Our webinars are approximately 1 hour long. We try to stick to that. And in moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and present you with the agenda. And in our agenda here today, we have our Q&A, which what we're asking for is there's a Q&A button. So if you do have questions, we will try to get those during the presentation. It may not happen depending on how long we go. I think we'll have a little extra time at the end of this presentation. So if you do have questions that you want to serve up to Warren or myself, we'll be happy to field them. If we cannot get to them in the presentation, we'll be sure to respond to them after the presentation. We ask you to not put any questions in the chat section, as the chat section is going to mainly be just for that if you have any kind of questions. Jen Guadioso is supporting the presentation on the back end, so she'll be monitoring the chats, and if there are any questions or if we mention books or a reference or anything, we'll try to get that information to you in the chat or a follow-up. Of course, all of our webinars come with our certification, so as part of your registration you indicate that and you'll be able to get a certificate. With that, we're going to go into a few housekeeping items, and then we're going to get quickly into the presentation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. One of the housekeeping items is really about something that's going on within Inspire Care 360 for both Inspire Care 360 members as well as non-members. This is the first time that, well, actually the second time, because our Healthy Advantage, which we'll talk about in a moment, has that feature and that functionality for us to offer this to non-members too. It's one of the few things that we can do. So we're rolling out executive coaching, and we have a bench of executive coaches that are all peers within the industry. Actually, a couple of them may be joining us today on this webinar. Highly talented individuals who have developed their childcare business from the ground up, whether they bought into the business and developed it, or if they started their own in-home or started a center or came about it through inheritance or what have you, but really have applied a number of things to really connect with staff, to really grow their enrollments, build multiple centers, multiple locations, and really optimize their operations. These are individuals who've been very successful and have decided as part of their career opportunity for themselves, they wanted to sort of pay it forward with the opportunity of providing coaching as well as mentoring to other individuals. And the difference between coaching and mentoring is important to point out. When we talk about coaching, we're not really, and there's some consulting in here, but we're really not driving consulting, which is really telling people what to do. So the coaches that Inspire Care 360 are bringing to you are not individuals who are going to just tell you what to do. They really work with you to understand what your goals, what your objectives are, to really wrap a program around you that makes sense specific for you. This sometimes deals with issues that are not related just to how to get your numbers up or how to hold on to staff, but could be that you're working with a partner and you're having challenges with that partner or a spouse, or you're having a real tough challenge dealing with the lease situation or something that might be very difficult that you're trying to overcome. And it may be things that, stray away from the center or the school itself, but it may be very directly focused on the school itself. And that's why they all have the industry background. So it's truly wrapped around your needs. It's not a playbook that's already been defined and then it's going to be taught to you. It's not also going to be something where it's like, hey, we're going to have a group of people and all we're going to do is facilitate you to talk to other peers. There is peer group interactions that'll be part of this, but it is going to be something that is going to be one-on-one engagement, and there will be some opportunity for you to engage with other peers if you want to participate. And then as part of the programs that we will have, there will be unlimited access throughout the year. So there's not going to be sort of a cap on this one-on-one access. So this isn't being put into a big group and coached in a group. This is one-on-one coaching. And some very experienced, and these individuals have all come through and become certified coaches. So with that said, we're going to offer to our membership first and foremost, they're going to have an opportunity for a coaching session that will be on us and the coaches. And then we're going to look to extend that on to non-members. But the membership obviously is going to have priority first with that. And then obviously the programs will have a price associated with it. But I think you will find, compared to what else is in the industry today, it's going to be highly competitive, highly engaging, and something I think you may really should take a look at. The thing about coaching, I became an executive coach probably about 15 years ago. And when I went through becoming an executive coach, I sort of just peeked into and learned everything that I don't know. And it did tremendous things for me as to how I manage and how I lead my teams. So it works out great. The coaching piece is fantastic for how you lead your teams. But me, even as an executive coach, I continue to seek executive coaching myself for my life. It's all part of my life's journey that allows me to keep on expanding my mind. It's a way in the direction, the way I can look at things, from the fires I have to put out immediately to sort of the long-term goals and objectives. So coaching is so important that we thought it was important enough to bring it to all of you, since there was a high demand from our membership and beyond. So that is one of our key items. One of our next items, and I'm probably not going to launch this today just because of our time. We have a little bit of a video here, and this again is about our ECE Healthy Advantage. We won't be playing it today, but we will go through, and a number of you have already seen this. We have really gone to the well in the sense of looking at what is so very important to the marketplace. It's a real pain point. And what we heard from a lot of owner operators is that 60% plus of their staff, their teachers, their administration do not have any kind of healthcare, or the kind of healthcare they have to offer has such a high deductible. So we went out there, and over the past year and a half, we built out a comprehensive program called IC360 ECE Healthy Advantage. It's highly affordable. So for an individual at $30 a paycheck for a teacher, they get $15 office visits, $15 specialist visits. There's no deductibles, visits to urgent care, going to other kind of facilities for lab work, x-rays, all very inexpensive for it. There's programs, especially the one that we just added. There's a full-blown maternity program that gives you benefits upwards between $2,000 and $4,000 for maternities, as well as the time you miss off the job for short-term missing because of that maternity that you have, which is typically under a year. And because of that, there's a program to replace those wages. And that has just been added to our Healthy Advantage program. It is a very staff friendly for the ECE world. We built this specifically for the childcare marketplace. And Jen is our main contact for that, and reach out to us if you want to learn more. This is another program that has a very special program price for our members, but there is also a program for non-members too. And it is a very simple program to implement, as we have a benefit liaison bundled with this whole program. And that means that you do not have to do a lot of the coordination to roll it out. All right. And it's a highly, we hopefully the people that are all involved with it are highly knowledgeable. So you do not have to manage the benefits once they have been put in place. You just have only one relationship that you have to manage, and then we do the rest. So with that, we're going to move on and we're going to talk a little bit about Warren, because Warren is coming on board with us. Warren, if you want to pop your video on, I'm going to do a little thing of starting to talk about you a bit here. Warren is one of the leaders, and I would say he's one of the growing leaders in the early childhood industry with some extensive experience. He has a number of years of experience in the industry, really focused on it. When I've talked to Warren, I tell you, his energy and his passion is really something that transmits very easy to you. So I can't help but keep a smile on my face when I talk to Warren about his energy and how passionate he is about our industry. He's gone from managing the small all the way to the very large, and he has filled in a lot of centers with that. So he's also highly committed to our industry. So first, before we get started with this, Warren, how are you doing?
I'm fired up. I'm doing fantastic. It's a privilege to be here today.
Well, it's a privilege for us to have you. We're always honored to bring new faces. And, for some of the webinars, there's in our industry, there's a number of different of our affiliates and friends out there who do webinars. And when we saw you out there, we saw you as some fresh perspective as well as a fresh face on the scene, and wanted to really take advantage of that and see, some of the things that you have to say. But you're out of Houston, are you?
So the main city is Houston. I'm out in Cyprus, Katy,
Okay.
Cyprus area, but Houston's the main city, yes.
Okay, fantastic. And today, if you want to give us an overview, we titled this, and the reason we titled this is after Warren and myself had a conversation early on. We said 0 to 60 enrollments within 4 to 5 months, because he was talking about, what it was about getting people engaged. So if you want to just give a high level overview before I have you jump in and start to run this.
Yeah, that the high view would really just be is that we have the philosophy, we have the blueprint within us to create a winning formula to have a thriving business. But it's just creating that strategy, knowing the strategy points, and knowing what I should and should not do, what I should give my attention to and what I should not give my attention to have everybody on the same vision to build a profitable center.
And so, we're going to go through this and we're going to talk about this. We have this thing, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called COVID out there. Um, I know it's just getting into the news now, but but that obviously just absolutely collides with everything that's going on. So, some of my questions to you through here will be is, this is great. How do we deal with it, in these kind of times? And I'll try to hopefully add some color onto it too. So with that, do you mind if we move forward?
Yeah, let's go.
Awesome. Thanks. And here you go. It's up to you.
All right. So, leadership, the leadership of building a solid leadership is the building blocks of a quality program. Your leadership is everything. So, how we say it here is, if Miss Jessica's not happy, who's our director, then nobody's happy.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry?
I said absolutely. I get that one for
Yeah.
sure.
So the leadership is definitely is what's going to build that program. So, one thing that I tell my leadership team here is you always have to be invested as a student. You always have to be reading. You always have to be expanding your horizon. So that's why we provide opportunities for all of our employees and all of our industry leaders to really continue to be a student, because when they get new information, they're able to produce well in the program. So today we'll talk about the why, the vision. When we have new employees that come on board, we really focus on why we are doing this, our vision in regards to impacting the lives in the community and the lives of children, what our philosophy of education is here at the facility. Also today we'll talk about from a management leadership point of view in regards to listening to our employees and our clients, our parents. We don't want to make our parents upset. And, I always say, and our leaders know this as well, is that every problem there is a solution. Every problem that a parent has, we have a solution for it. It may not be the best solution that the parent wants to hear, but if we tie it in a way that is positive and encouraging, it can come off as inspirational per se. And the power, the importance of following up, mainly when it comes to our clients and tours and prospective clients, and also tying that in regards to closing the back door philosophy. So we don't want to tour and then have parents go out the door. We want to keep the enrollment in our facility. So talking about different ways of how we can keep the back door shut, as they say.
Absolutely. So you want me to move forward here to the why?
Yeah, absolutely. So the importance of your why, what is your vision? So in order for you to know where you're going, where your team is going, there has to be a vision. There has to be a roadmap. So one of the things that we did here at the facility initially is, explain the vision. When we have teachers come into interview and whatnot, we ask them that question: what is your vision, and how does the vision tie to our philosophy of education? And sometimes we have to make that decision that, right now your vision is not aligned to our vision, so we don't see this working out. And the costly, they always say the costly investment is at the beginning, right? So you don't want to invest in an interviewee that is not on the same page as you, or is not coachable on getting on the same page as you.
Well, you bring up some really good points, Warren. One of the things that I'm a huge believer in is, like you speak, vision as well as values. Is the values that you have, the vision that you have, your experience has been, have you, because, and this is a little bit of a leading question, but do you hire more for skill or do you hire more for values?
Values.
Okay, and why?
We hire more on values because everyone can build a skill. Everyone can build that skill, but really the integrity and the value is really what's going to produce that harvest, or it's going to produce that high level thinking or like-minded thinking in regards to collaborating effectively and really trust, like building trust. Everything is around the trust. So values would be my answer.
Yeah, well, I think, and that value obviously leads to your vision. And, for those out there, oftentimes your vision is what you're gonna be, right? That's where you want to be. And Warren, what you say, I think is it's perfect, spot on, in the sense that people are really trying to get to a destination. If people are not willing to be on the boat rowing with you to get there, it's so difficult. If you find people that you already have within your environment, whether it be your director, whether it be your teachers, is there anything you can do if their vision does not seem to be aligned with you? Because it's not the hiring stage already. You might inherited someone, or you might have someone who's been there, someone who might be toxic to the environment. So what are your thoughts about that?
Right. Perfect question. I love it. So, from experience going into a facility, yeah, there has to be a moment where, you as a leader, or you as the individual, you have this clear vision. You want to share that vision. One thing for me is never compromising. So this is the vision. The vision is this. And I'm a true believer that, we can always coach lovingly. So, sharing with the director the vision, allowing the director to understand the vision and hear his or her thoughts on the vision, but then also letting the person, or the director, the teacher, whoever it is that this is a non-negotiable. There's no changing of this vision. There's no here, let's take this out, that. No, the vision is plain as day on paper. And asking them that question, is this something that you are willing to uphold or willing to implement? And sometimes you gotta have those tough conversations that if they're not willing to do that, then it's probably best that we kind of go our separate ways. Um, to answer your question directly, is I kind of have this like 90-day rule, because at a previous facility, I inherited staff, I inherited a director, and basically I gave everyone 90 days to get onto the vision. I coached, I trained, I was in a very positive spirit, but typically around like day 80, it was kind of to the crunch line to day 90, and I let them know that by next week, if we're not on the same line, then we're going to have some conversations that's going to really allow us to see if this is going to be a working relationship.
That's, and I feel that's solid guidance. I'll torture you with one more question before you move on here. When it comes to, for owner and operators in developing a vision, there's one thing to just say we have one, there's another thing to develop it. What are your thoughts about how you develop a vision that's going to resonate with your teachers, your staff, and even your families?
Yeah, no, for sure. For me, it all came from personal experience, because I have worked into the classrooms. I have worked as a director. My vision came from personal experience. So, really writing that vision, you really just kind of have to get into that brainstorming mode with a pen and paper, and just really just write words. How I came up with our vision is just writing words, and seeing like the things in the news, and seeing things in my local community, and giving children equality education, and just really having that fire within that. Yeah, I want to be the leader in this specific area in regards to equality for children, and I want to be the leader in regards to providing affordable childcare for underprivileged children. So typically my purpose and vision is around underprivileged children, giving equality to children, and really giving children the best education, the best foundation.
Oh, fantastic. I think those are great visions to be painted as part of your journey.
Yes. Yes. So the importance of active listening. There's one thing to say we're listening, but really active listening. And, that's kind of one of the things that really, as early childhood providers and leaders in the industry, that's kind of like the topping on the ice cream, is that when we're able to craft that skill of active listening, then we have a better approach when it comes to addressing solutions. And when we address solutions, we keep enrollment. So are you listening to your parents and your employees? So an example of that would be, a parent. Well, why did I get this late fee? This is not fair that I got this late fee. And all of this stuff is happening to me. Sometimes, as we know, parents just want to vent, right? So as a leader, you don't want to go to that parent and say, well, you know what, you should have paid your tuition on time, or you should have signed up for Tuition Express, or whatever. You want to be able to say, well, I understand your concern. This is the policy. How can I help you? I find that when I ask a question, how can I help you? Or how does this make you feel questions, it typically eliminates the parent stress. So that's part of active listening, actually hearing that it's really not a tuition need, it's really something outside of you. And maybe that parent just needs to have that moment to say, well, okay, Warren, you know, Jacob didn't sleep well last night because he was coughing and I'm just tired. So part of the active listening and part of the keeping the enrollment is being able to listen to your clients and really kind of help them outside of the facility and not actually in the facility, but actually hear them out on things that they may not be able to express to other people because they have built that trust with you. They see you every day, kind of thing.
That's awesome. So what I hear you saying is, having more of the how can I help you, trying to get more to root cause as to just what might be said on the surface, digging a little bit deeper, and then being able to go beyond the walls of your center of what's just happening in it to really sort of engage them at a deeper level, I guess you're saying. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, actually knowing the parent outside of the center with boundaries, of course, everything's with boundaries, but giving that parent space to be able to kind of come to you and say, well, this is what's happening, kind of give you perspective. And you as a leader, you will kind of have that perspective and understand, okay, why this child is, demonstrating some of these behaviors that they normally wouldn't do as well. So
is there any kind of a example, if you don't mind sharing? Don't mean to put you too much on the spot, where you heard one thing from a parent who was sort of, coming in and sort of, either demonstrating some anger, or frustration, or anxiety, and then, through your active listening, you started really sort of getting to more of a different root cause.
right. One event that actually just comes up for me is basically one of our infant families. So mom came in and she was just very upset in regards to the diaper changing. She said, why is the baby being changed every hour? I never spent so much money in diapers and, all of that stuff. And I actually kind of had to intervene because it came to that severity that basically I had to intervene. And just talking to her and hearing her, it really wasn't about being the baby being changed every hour. It was really a financial issue in regards to they had a specific budget on diapers, and if we are changing the baby every hour, then obviously we are using the child's diapers every hour. So it was just a conversation with her that, okay, mom, what would you like us to do? Would you like us to change every 2 hours, every 3 hours? Can you make that changes on the information sheet so that, from a compliance standpoint, we're following your wishes? So it was just really having that active listening and her saying, like, listen, it's a financial issue. I don't mean to blow up to your teachers, to you, to the director. It's a financial issue. I would like the baby to be changed every 2 hours. And that's what we ultimately started doing.
You know what? It's interesting. It was almost like you were in my Brockport location, because we just had the exact same issue. I got a phone call from the one of the directors there who said, "Oh, you're going to get a call from a parent." I said, "Well, what's up?" And it was a diaper issue, and it was about going through too many diapers, and it was about the almost identical same issue. At the end of the day, we even got to, which we when I listened to that conversation too, first they made it about the child, but then we got it to more of a financial issue, just like what you had on yours. But really listening to the call, what I started to hear a lot about was there was actually a little bit of a power struggle, that the parent wanted to have it a certain way, and she wanted to have her child treated because the way she wanted to have it. And so even though she had the ability to provide a diaper and used it as like a financial tool, and we really got down to it, found out that it was different than that. It was much more about her wanting to direct what her child does and not have the staff direct what her child does. So am I doing an okay job of active listening with you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because, with the active listening, it really is, like I said at the beginning, there's always a solution. Like, we never have to have a parent or an employee leave our building upset. We can always address it. They may not be liking the answer, but there is always a solution to a problem, for both employee and parent. And that kind of goes into the segue of the employees and how that's part of customer service and active listening, right? Because, our teachers in the classrooms, our directors, assistant directors, they're part of that customer service because they're part of that experience that the child is having. That is the experience that the parents are seeing when they drop off. Well, not right now. In my state, in Texas, the parents are dropping off at the door. They're not coming in. But, before pre-COVID, and even now, part of the active listening is answering questions from the parents, utilizing the technology, the daily communication apps and things like that, and giving back to parents in an appropriate time frame when they have questions throughout the day. So yeah.
Let me ask you this, one of the things we really honed in on this presentation was really about driving your enrollments up, right?
Sure.
So how do you apply active listening when it comes to families and tours?
Yeah, so when it comes to tours, is really asking them in the tours, asking them, what are your needs? Why are you looking? Why are you looking for childcare? What is your purpose of your tour today? Allowing them to share those pains. Oh well, we're looking for. Some of the things that we hear is that, oh, currently they're going to this school and we're having issues with biting, or we're having issues with the curriculum. And being able to listen to, okay, this parent has issues with curriculum. So that means in my tours, I'm going to talk about how we have a proprietary curriculum. They're talking about safety issues. I'm going to talk about how our doors are locked and the PIN codes and the cameras and all the things with security. So that's kind of when we talk about enrollment and tours, that's kind of, are we still here?
We're still here. I think you have a stuck video.
Okay, are we good now?
Yours isn't, but maybe you could just keep on going with what you were saying because everybody's listening still.
Yeah. So it's really the active listening comes in when you ask the families and the tours, what needs do they have, or what are they looking for in an early childhood center.
But just to play on what you were talking about there, one of the things that we've been doing for years now, which has been super important for us, is we have really looked at our centers. When we get the phone call in for the tour, is to make sure in a very consistent way is to identify what were the pain points, what's driving them there if they're not brand new to childcare. And if they are brand new to childcare, what are the top three things? What are the top three things that are most important to them? And that is before they've actually come in and taken the tour. Upon them arriving for the tour, we're prepared with that information. We actually sit them down first and we go through the tour with reviewing up front what are the top three things and say, this is what we heard from our phone conversation with you. We heard that, for instance, security is really important for you. Feedback and getting your feedback to you about what's going on with your child throughout the day. And then obviously menu, if for instance, if that was the third one. So with that said, those type of ideas, what you have is those pain points. If you revisit them right before the tour, then when you're conducting the tour itself, as you conduct that tour, you are then pointing those elements out during the tour. So you've heard about it prior to the tour. Then during the tour, you're actually discussing them right before you go on it. Then as the tour is being conducted, then you're pointing out exactly those things. So for instance, if it's a security issue, or it's, you're using a communication and through a tablet and through some type of daily sheet connection, that you're using electronically or even paper-based for that matter. And then maybe it's a food issue or a menu item, and you talk about it, you show them the kitchen or you show them how you're catered or what have you. That leaves you the opportunity that at the conclusion of your tour, you have that opportunity to go back and review that. The importance of follow-up. Every conversation is a business opportunity planted.
There we go. So the importance of follow-up. So really, so the tour and the follow-up goes hand in hand, right? So, after we have the tour here, to really kind of drive that enrollment within that same day, we send a thank you email. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. We talk about some of the things that, we talked during the tour. Then within 24 hours, we send the same day we send the email. Then the system will prompt us 24 hours to schedule a phone call to see if there's any questions that they would have. Then 48 hours, we then ask for them to see, are you going to be enrolling in the facility? So the goal is that when they're actually doing the tour, we want to actually capture the enrollment. But sometimes there are parents that are not ready to make that investment for whatever reason. They want to go home. They use the excuse, we want to talk about it with the spouse and that. But the goal is to always capture the enrollment at the time of the time of tour. So typically, as you were sharing, Tony, after the tour, we have a time they sit down, we go through all of the information. The director brings out the tuition sheet, kind of does all of that. And then we end the tour with, would you like to secure the spot today with the $150 enrollment fee? And typically, when we say that, would you like to do this today? Typically, they say yes, they pull out the credit card, boom, we got the deposit. Now they're walking out the door with deposit. So when they go home to speak to the spouse, it's kind of already a done deal because they could possibly come back and get their money, but it's a non-refundable deposit. So most of the time they just go along with it and they enroll the child if they have second thoughts.
So, well, let me ask you, I want to hone in on that a little bit because I think this is one of the things that can be sometimes challenging, where sometimes the owner operators can do that because they have confidence, right? A lot of this deals with confidence in being able to stand behind what you say and be very confident that your center is excellent. It's going to do for what you say it's going to do for their child. How have you translated that to other staff members who conduct the tours, who may not demonstrate the same level of confidence, but someone you want them to elevate themselves so they can look at trying and attempting to close the tour when the tour is there?
Right. No, very good question. So I use an example with Jessica. So when Jessica and I started working, she is very shy. She's very she's a people person, but she's very quiet. And one of the things that I had to work with her is just really kind of going back into that why, that passion, why you were a director, why, what makes you happy, what makes you excited to come to work every day, because really, from my experience, it's really about that energy that you give out. So if you are loving what you're doing and really just walking in your authority, that's how she's been able to kind of capture those enrollments. But specifically, to answer your question, it really is it goes back to your why and your passion, because the parents should be able to feel that in your tours. They will know, obviously, if you don't like being at your job or being in a certain position or you being stressed out. So typically what I've told Jessica and other, basically majority of the staff here is really, when you see a new face, you get you get happy, you get excited. You may not be feeling happy or excited because we're all facing life, but you just gotta muster up that courage, because at the end of the day, you wanna give the children and the parents that best experience.
That's absolutely awesome. One of the things that I've learned through my own centers from what you're talking about is, when someone is so highly engaged, someone is passionate, someone like you or your team member, Jessica, when they're passionate, it is palpable. You can almost taste it. That's how much it is. I have also learned too, through my years of having multiple centers, that sometimes that doesn't reside within your director's facility of them. They just, that bubbliness and that passion, even though they might be a wonderful operator, they just don't have it. So what I've learned from some of my experiences is sometimes finding someone else to provide the tours who is a teacher, who is someone who exudes exactly what you're speaking of, that passion, someone who has all that energy to bring that person across the goal line. And I think it's been very helpful for us to do that, realizing that some people just have a specialty in doing it and a knack for it.
Correct.
So one of our audience members here, Melissa, had asked something that's it's slightly off our topic, but I think it's worth a discussion. I have a thought on it, but I'd like to ask you. And if someone comes into your center and is asking for something you do not have, you do not offer, but saying, hey, listen, I want to come to your center, but we would like a special accommodation for that. Now, this is a little bit off topic, but what is your thoughts on how you address it, sort of with your theory here of listening and, using the opportunity to follow through and follow up?
Yeah, no, definitely. Good question. So how I would address that, or how I would address that parent is, letting them know that, right now we don't offer this service or this product, or service or product. But definitely we can take note of it, because we're always looking to enhance and change different things off the needs of the center and the needs of the students. So that's kind of how I would address that. And additionally, following up with that parent, maybe asking them, can I have your information, so that I can follow up with you? And, that from a leadership standpoint, that will keep me engaged with that parent. Like, I'll add them to our MailChimps, and I would be able to call them like every couple of months. It's like, hey, I haven't forgotten about you. I know you really wanted cameras, and we're really working on getting cameras. Do you know of any people in the area that's also looking to have their children in a school with cameras? Because I really want to provide the best care in the community. So now I'm extending that opportunity for that parent to do some of the work for me, to find other families to enroll into my school, so that I can afford to put cameras in my building.
Well, you know what though, but you just demonstrated two of the things you just talked about. One is active listening, and you are following up, right? And both of those show that you heard her when she walked in the door. You took it as very important, but you also followed through. So at a point, that parent also, even though they might want cameras, they may also desire to go, you know what, I'd rather have someone who's engaged, like Warren and his entity and his organization, as to someone who's just going to have cameras but doesn't have that level of engagement. Right. So I think that level of engagement is really important. My guidance for my staff is, sometimes people ask for stuff, and I'm a big believer in being authentic and being transparent too. And it sounds like you are. Yes. We once had, unfortunately, we had a Stepping Stones close, and up here, that's, a behavioral center. And it was a challenge for our entire community, but we had, families who were scrambling to get care for their kids. But we don't have teachers who are equipped to handle severe behavioral elements of children on the spectrum. And so we couldn't offer it. And it was very easy for us to say, yeah, we'll take a chance to do that. but it was one of those things that we learned from being transparent and being honest, being authentic, but being kind and also helping them. Similar to what you're saying of, hey, if you want to find some other families, I'll definitely look at bringing that on in. That authenticity, that transparency seems to really help, especially when you're doing things like follow up. So good points. Do you want me to move on? Because
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. We can definitely move on. This is good stuff.
awesome. All right. And so the slide I've changed, I'm not sure if it's changing for you, but how to keep the back door closed regarding enrollments. Is cash running out the door a good thing? Of course it's not. Come on.
Of course not. Nobody wants money running out the door. So this is one thing that I actually learned throughout the years, and I've really started implementing for the last couple of years. Is really once we capture the enrollment, we want to be able to foster that enrollment, right? So it's all about giving that experience every day for that family and that child. So really demonstrating all of the listening, the active listening, demonstrating the concern, attending to the children's needs, following up within an appropriate time frame with the family, because we never want to give that parent any room to feel that they made the wrong choice or make them feel that we don't appreciate them, because we always get those comments, how much money I pay here every week, my child should be X, Y, and Z, you know
Of course.
just really, that's how we close the back door in regards to, saying hello to our families every morning, asking them, how can I help you? Or is everything okay? Or, hey, Susie, I know that your husband, John, was sick last week. How is he doing? Showing some level of concern. Not, typically, we kind of went through a little bit of a transition here where we had a couple of employees that basically were very cold to the parents, very, nonchalant, and that kind of changes the atmosphere. That's one thing as providers, we know when the atmosphere has changed. And it's sometimes having conversations with those employees and let them know that, what, we are trying to keep our back door closed. So if you cannot help us keep the door closed, then you need to find another place to work, because we will not have this toxic energy in the building. You will not, you will not bring all of this drama into the children's environment.
Yeah. No, that's great. When I was prior to I even got into this industry, I worked for a company, Ernst and Young, and I was a consultant for them. And one thing that was a philosophy that I had with my relationships with my clients at the time, which transcends to relationships in general, especially relationships with families and parents. And that is, relationships are never standing still, meaning that your relationship is either building better or it's sliding slightly worse, but they're never standing still. And one of the elements that's really important that we found was based on what you're saying here, and I think it's a great point, Warren, is that if you are not soliciting to your families, you actively as a company, if your director, if you as an owner are not reaching out to your families and finding out what their mindset is, where they are they engaged? Are they building up? Are they loving you? Or are they like not happy or not satisfied or something has gotten under the skin? The opportunity for you to do that proactively is huge because it gets to them, especially if there's something negative there. It gets to them prior to it getting out onto social media or a reason that they want to pull and go out the back door, something of this nature. I know we've even developed a tool that's all based on how to do that and how to do it in an automated fashion. But I think you're right on target for that it's an opportunity to get to that, what I call that latent goodwill, but also to find out, are there issues before they actually rear their head? What are some of the techniques that you might use to do this, with your existing families to really have those kind of conversations? Or is it just you? Are you extending it on to your directors and teachers?
Yeah, so yes, to everyone. So predominantly, mainly the director, but really also the teachers as well. So what we do weekly is we actually send out surveys. So the system will send out a survey every week. How did everything go this week? And then based off of those feedbacks, we do have parents that sometimes will say, well, this is what happened this week and I'm not very happy. And then the director will initiate some type of contact on Monday, Tuesday, and really talk to that parent face to face, not via phone, but really face to face in regards to, okay, we heard the concern. Let's talk about it. And then through that conversation, because they've already built a connection with Jessica and with the, oh no, did I freeze again?
You
No.
did, but I can hear you.
Okay, so they've already built a connection with the director and then also with the teachers that typically those issues kind of get resolved right then and there. It's kind of one of those things that sometimes they just want to vent about it.
One of the things, while Warren is popping back on here, one of the things that we have used as some techniques is we have an automated way to solicit and find out if
Director,
families are happy. Are you there, Warren?
yes.
Okay, there you go. You've come back. So I was just telling them that we also use an automated way to help solicit families' happiness. You were talking about that you also use a tool too.
Yes.
Okay, so we missed the end of that though. So
Okay. So I was saying, yeah. So we use a tool that every week they send. We send out emails. Did you guys get that part?
yep, we got that, and then you dropped.
Okay. Yes, and then so we use a tool, but then also too, so based off of those results, then the director will have a conversation on Monday because typically those go out at the end of the week. The director will have a conversation on Monday with.
We're getting really tied up. Unfortunately, you cut out again, Warren. I think the internet connection is a little bit tricky there. Um, so just pop back in and talk over me when you come on in, Warren. For instance, using those tools and then being able to engage in those conversations are absolutely critical. Are you back, Warren? I think he might be challenged in coming out. For our members, in the meantime, for our members who are out there, one of the things that we look at for enrollments, we just rolled out some of our courses for our members of skyrocketing enrollments, as well as Tour Like a Rock Star 1 and 2. So for our IC360 members who are on this call, those are now in your learning management course environment, and you have the ability to leverage those courses at this point in time. Warren, are you there?
I'm there. So sorry, guys. I'm not sure what's happening, but I appreciate the opportunity.
It's technology. All of us have been on Zoom calls before. We've all seen it before. So don't worry about it.
Yes, I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, it's all about securing those enrollments and taking it 0 to 60.
Yeah. Well, with that said, we are very close to the end of our time anyhow. I think we got to most of the questions. I do notice that one of our members here of the call did happen to ask, and I think it was Andrea, I believe, had asked, what are your thoughts on pre-recorded video tours? Are you on there still, Warren?
Yeah, I'm here.
So what are your thoughts about that in the days of COVID, where you don't have oftentimes families who can walk into your center? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's really been a game changer for us, is really having those pre-recorded tours, because when we talk on the phone and we send the email, we send a link to the tours. We've even set up like a private social media group, Facebook group, exclusively for that, and then we can actually do a real-time FaceTime or not FaceTime, live Facebook tour of the facilities. But definitely that has been helpful to get that experience through the screen.
You know, I never thought about that of doing a live Facebook tour, but that is really pretty interesting. You know, whether you do like a FaceTime, you can do it also over Android, but you can do it over something like Facebook. Of doing a live tour is a really interesting way to virtually engage families. You know, my 2 cents on it is that I think it's highly valuable, but I think that like any other tours, like we were talking about midway through this presentation, you don't want to just do a tour when someone asks just to see your facility or to possibly just publish it for people to just go view it off of your website. It is something you want to personalize. Again, you want to know the same issues. What are the challenges that they have, or what's really important to them first? And if you're going to do a virtual tour, whether it be a video or whether it be something live, like Warren just implied, it's really about how to keep them engaged of this is what you're interested in. This is what we're going to show you. Did you have a chance to see it? So it's a real opportunity to keep people highly engaged. Warren, any last words from you as we wind up our time?
Yeah, no, I'm all good, but we're in this to win it, right? So yeah, we can do this. We can get our staff aligned to the vision and really just show up every day in high energy and know that we got this.
Awesome. Well, Warren, I want to thank you greatly. I have your slide up here, and it gives you contact information if you want to reach out to Warren as well. He's a certified program administrator in the state of Texas and childcare development specialist, as well as focused on building enrollments, maximizing your cash flow, and establishing routines and systems to run effective childcare centers, and obviously new business startup. So Warren, thank you very much for joining us today. And for everybody out there, thank you very much for joining us. Sorry about some of the small technical issues, but I think all of us have used Zoom at some point or something similar where we've run into something that has gotten there. But I think Warren has really helped us out a lot, and he's been a fantastic guest for us today. If you have any questions for Warren, or if you do have any questions for myself or the Inspire Care 360 team, please reach out in chat or reach out directly to Jen or respond to your email for the registration for this, and we'll be happy to reach out for you. There will be a replay that'll be provided out there for everybody who's registered, and those people who've either come today and want to pass it on to someone else, or if it is someone who's obviously had a drop off. So with that said, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. We will see you on the next Inspire Care 360 pop-up executive webinar. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you, Warren, for your time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.